Been a patient to you, Doc.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm. She lives in Northwest DC. She took the train up. I guess she was visiting some family or something.
All right, we're going live, guys.
Okay.
Hey, Mo,
Hey, Ricky.
the doctor is in.
You know it. Oh my God. Wait, the doctors are
The
in.
doctors are in. The doctors are in. My doc is here.
Know it. Oh my God. Wait, the doctors are
The
in.
doctors are in. The doctors are in. My doc is here.
Know it. Oh my God. Wait, the doctors are in. You're gonna have to mute your
My doc is here.
Facebook if you're going live. Yep. You're gonna have to mute your Facebook if you're going live. Yep.
Yeah, something's crazy on my Facebook.
No problem.
There. I don't know what's going on. That happened last week too, Mo. So
No
we're here.
worries.
We are here. When we trial on the move, we're in our exhibit booth at the National Urban League Conference in DC. And we have Dr. Regina Hampton, my doc, and on our medical advisory board, and our friend,
Thank you
Christian.
for having me.
So Christian Newman, she is, tell your title.
I am the Vice President of Partnerships and Advancement at the National Urban League. Yes.
So you know, we're doing this road show, this education tour, and we are, I don't know, this is probably our 8th week on the road, right, Mo? And which is crazy. We've been in different cities every week, but we've been working to go to events. Guess what? Where Black women hang out
Yes.
and Black people hang out. So we're trying to just kind of bring our When We Trial message to where Black women live, work, play, pray, and slay. And she's a slayer over here.
And pray.
And
pray
pray,
a prayer.
You're all of that. You're all of
Yes.
that. You're all of that. So we're here and we're going to be here this weekend. And we're going to be, you know, activating at the booth and talking to people everywhere. And then on Saturday, we're bringing Dr. Regina's Mammomobile to the convention center in
Wow,
DC.
We're so excited.
So I will put the link in the comments, basically where you can sign up to get a mammogram or just show up, and we're going to be here and give mammograms all day. And so thank you for that, Dr. Regina. Her team has been awesome to work with, and we're going to, you know, bring it to the people where we are, and talk about clinical trials and talk about breast health and all the stuff. So why don't we start with you, my friend, and tell them why we're here and what you're doing and what the Urban League is all about. And, you know, not every, you know, our young people don't really know.
Right.
So break it down for us.
And I was actually one of them. So the National Urban League is the highest rated civil rights organization, and actually one of the oldest, which, you know, includes like the NAACP. We are over 100 years old. So it is really an honor to be on this show, and it's an honor to present our conference to your audience. I am so excited to have Ricky and this activation, because it's just so important to really empower our community through information. And that's what the Urban League is about. Our 4 pillars are education, health. We actually just added a 5th one, which is justice, but education, health, housing, and the 4th one is like business and economics. So that's what we focus on. And jobs, of course. And so with that, we have lots of programs. When you think about the Urban League, think about direct services, because we are one of the only direct services civil rights organization that has 90 affiliates around the country.
Wow, 90 affiliates.
Yes.
So more than the states. There's
Yes,
more than one in the state.
yes. So what that means is that if you're in Houston, Texas, and you're trying to start a business, you can go to your local Urban League affiliate, and there's resources for you to start your business. If you are in New Orleans and you have a child who needs an after-school program, there's an Urban League affiliate that can serve you. If you are are about to lose your home, there's an Urban League affiliate that you can go to help you save your home. If you're trying to purchase a home, there's an Urban League affiliate that is there for you to purchase a home. So there's so many services that we have provided just throughout the years to really empower our community through information and solutions. And
Wow.
this, I'm so excited tonight because this is definitely a major solution for our community.
Wow, I never thought of that.
So wait a minute, you're saying that Urban League for over 100 years has provided all of these different services? Because when people think about advocacy and activism, right, they think about either voters registration, they
Right.
think some kind of maybe lobbying on Capitol Hill, which is super important,
Mhm.
but advocacy and activism in business and in home ownership and finance and all these great key areas. I think that to me is probably one of the most mind-blowing things that you said, because I don't know that people really understand today what advocacy means in action. It's like a word, I'm an advocate, or I advocate for things, but to be an advocate and to use those resources, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, we're really actually, I feel like we're one of the best kept secrets out there.
Yeah.
And we just really, because people, when they think about the Urban League, they think of possibly scholarships, education, or just like our events. That's a good network to be in. But very rarely do they really, understand the direct services that we provide. So it's very important when you experience us that you too become an advocate and an ambassador for what we do and share it with a teenager, in your community that needs an after school program, a project ready program for our youth, or an entrepreneur, or someone who's looking for a job. We have a job board that is available 24/7,
Wow.
365 days out the year. You can go through the Urban League and find a job.
Wow. And I don't think people I know this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're happy to spread this word, but, I've probably known about the Urban League my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
but I had no idea that the services were that active and
Mhm.
accessible,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Right. So hopefully we can get that message across. You guys get a job, need help with your business, need help with childcare, really need help with health. So wow, just providing.
And there's inroads with the breast cancer space as well. I want to pull Dr. Regina in and tell us who you are and where you practice, because there's a handful of physicians where if I got breast cancer, I would go see them. They'd be on my list of people to call and to come see. And this doc is one of them. She is a friend and a mentor and advisor. She is a role model. She is just an all around dope individual. And I love her. So Dr. Regina.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't make it into DC to be with you guys, but happy to still be able to participate. Happy to be with Dr. Mo. So I'm Dr. Regina Hampton. I'm a breast surgeon located in Prince George's County, which is just
The
outside
best
of
one in
Washington.
the DC area, the best one in the DC area by far. By far.
And just happy to be here. I've just dedicated my practice to really serving African-American women and women of color and making sure that they, understand their breast cancer journey, really taking the time to speak in a culturally appropriate manner with them, because that's just what I do and that's just my passion.
So what else? So she's a surgeon, right?
Okay,
So
among other things,
alive,
right?
So then she has this amazing facility called Breast Care for Washington. And they basically are providing mammograms in an area of the city that has the highest mortality rate for breast cancer for Black women in the country. Okay.
Wow.
And she put up shop there because there were no health facilities there. And then she has a lingerie store.
Wow.
Right. Her lingerie store called Cherry Blossom Intimates is at Woodmere Shopping Center in is it in Laurel or where is it in
Glenarden,
Glenarden.
in Prince George's County.
Yeah,
Not just a store,
right.
but
Not
an
just a store.
experience. right?
Yes.
And a much needed service. So Doc, we're gonna talk about that too in a little bit, because we want to understand, I guess, what are we seeing in the community, and paint a picture for people who might be watching, people in rural America, et cetera. You know, how are women doing in the DC metro area with breast cancer? What are some of the needs that you see?
Yeah, so still for African American women in our community, still are diagnosed at later stages. And I think it's, of course, gotten worse during COVID, as you know, we had people who were still afraid to go out and get mammograms, go and get checked when they, you know, felt a mass or felt something that was abnormal. So we're starting to see that as people are starting to trickle in. And so, you know, still a lot of education is needed in our community. I'm just always still amazed that with all of the, you know, stuff in the media, stuff on social media, and even just the number of Black women in the community, that the word just isn't trickling down to our women. There's still a lot of fear. There's still a lot of misinformation. I think a lot of women think, well, if I have breast cancer, it automatically means my, you know, breast has to be removed. They're not aware that if the breast has to be removed, that there are different ways that we can do that. And so I think with, you know, organizations like When We Trial and Touch BBCA, I think, you know, getting out there and doing the grassroots work and just trying to continue to spread that word is so important and so needed.
Yeah, I've been on this road now for whatever, 6 or 8 weeks, and the level of health illiteracy in our community is
Yes.
frightening to me. And I'm meeting people everywhere, and just to see, you don't know what you don't know, and we met so many women and so many families who, they still don't want to talk about cancer. Well, it's the C word. And my grandmother died of that, but we don't really know how or why, right? Or even just like, what do you do when you get this diagnosis? It's so scary that people just don't know. And it just really showed me how important it is that we have to get these messages out to people, but also in ways, and you brought it up earlier, with cultural humility, doing it in a way that's accepting of our people, so they understand it and they feel comfortable talking about it, and just making that comfort level for people to say, it's okay to, that your grandmother had cancer.
Yeah.
It's okay to talk about the fact that so-and-so had their leg amputated and has the sugar, whatever. Like you can use the big words like diabetes, hello, and the cancer word, and talk about it. And it's not a death sentence, but we have to deal with it differently than maybe white people do. And we have to be armed with things to ask our doctors, because our white doctors just aren't going to be like you guys. They're not going to ask people for clinical trials. They're not even going to necessarily give you all the treatment options you may have, the way that you guys would. I mean, these guys are like the best.
I know.
And at least the same, right? Like, I think parity is the word that we use to try to level that playing field a little bit and make sure that people are at least just offered the standard of care, right? Like, we're not even asking for extra yet.
No.
When I think sometimes, what I find is what I find for women of color, it just takes them time a little longer to just process the information, to hear the information. And I think, unfortunately, what happens with a lot of providers is they deliver information and they expect the patient to immediately go into attack mode and go. But there's some patients that I kind of send them away and say, okay, you're going to go away for a week. Let's get some other testing done, and then let's revisit this conversation and have another conversation. And you're going to bring somebody with you. Not going to come alone. Either bring somebody with you, or let's get somebody on FaceTime or Google Duo or something, so somebody else can hear the information and be able to tell you information that you thought you heard, but they can say, well, no, that's not what they said. This is what they said.
That's deep, Doc.
That just from an Urban League standpoint, I think that we don't have the conversation about the complexity of being an African American person, a woman or man, because fortunately, but unfortunately, I get an opportunity to read the stats and the data. We produce what is called the State of Black America report. And so what happens is, as it relates to economics, as it relates to incarceration, as it relates to education, we are not on par, and those numbers consistently stay the same as it relates to justice. So we are not your typical or average patient because we already come with a lot of baggage or trauma. So when you add another piece that could be, just another like situation for us, we have really become as a people, and we see it with our work, we've become escape artists. We rather listen to something
Wow.
that is like comedy or inspirational, as opposed to having these tough conversations, because we live these experiences daily.
And
It
I
is
think
very
all of-
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, when you compound, like I always say, cancer doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right? It's on top of everything else that you might be facing, whether you're working 3 jobs, you're the primary breadwinner, you can ready to lose your house, you're trying to buy a house, you're looking at moving, you're taking care of elderly, loved ones, whatever it is. And then cancer hits, and it's just like, it adds a level of stress
Something
and
else,
trauma.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right. But Dr. Regina, you said something deep, because a lot of times, I find when you talk to docs, they say, well, I offered the patient XYZ, they had triple negative breast cancer. I told her she needs chemo and she didn't want it. And so moving on. And they don't spend that time to educate the patient on the standard of care. And for the patient side of things, feeling rushed through the process. I got my mammogram, my ultrasound, I got a biopsy all in the same day, and I didn't know what was going on. Not understanding that actually could be a benefit. It could save you time. It could get you a diagnosis faster, but nobody talked to that person. And it's the communication piece, I think, that's really, really lacking, because when we understand and we feel partnered with, we're much more likely to do whatever it takes because we want to live.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that's a good point. And, it's something I really should look at, but I know just kind of anecdotally that, I have to have more patient visits with my African American women than I do with my white women. My African American women, and for everybody, I get their diagnosis and then we come back to talk about treatment. I don't do it all in one visit, but I find for my African American women, it may take another 2 or 3 visits versus my white patients can come back and they're on board and like, all right, let's go move on to the next step. And sometimes with my African American women, it just takes a minute. And what I've just learned through my career is to take that minute and give the patient the permission to say, you know what, your cancer might be a stage 1 now. It's not going to go to 4 in the next 3 days. So let's take the time that we need. Let's bring some other people into the conversation. Maybe go meet with another provider who can talk to you about what is chemotherapy, how is it delivered. And I always say, just go have a conversation. Don't commit to anything. Just have the conversation and just listen. And I find that really helps get women to move forward because they feel heard, they feel seen, and they feel like they've had the time to really digest and make that decision for themselves.
Yeah, I think also to that point, this conversation is really making me think a lot about finances too, that a lot of times, access to capital, you always think about your network. And if you need capital for a business or whatever venture, you go to your network and you start talking to people. I think about in this conversation, if you have a diagnosis, who's that network that you can connect to and get the information and resources you need in a safe space.
And we
I
don't.
love that you're thinking that way, because
Yeah.
it doesn't really exist from a structural standpoint. It's various towns and various support groups and online places. And, there isn't a structured way to do that I've seen, and different health systems do it differently, and they may not have it at all, because what if you don't have that family member, or what if you're not comfortable talking to or bringing that family member in, and so we haven't figured out how to get that right yet, but I think you're onto something.
Yeah, we haven't. And I think that people come to us really from word of mouth. They'll hear, we'll get calls. We get calls, so too many calls from new breasties but it's because another breastie told us about them or
Mhm.
something, they heard something or saw on social media. But I feel like we could do a lot more to outreach to new
Mhm,
patients. Like
mhm.
you're thinking about, how do you do that? How do we all just make people know that we're here for them and can provide support? And that's what all you guys are doing too, you
Mhm.
know? So how are you guys structured? If you have 90 points of entry, like where are they? Like, how does that work?
So it's mainly we have, you know, physical buildings and sites. What I one of my goals is definitely to have more of an online and digital, you know, expand digitally.
Okay.
Because that's where people are. You know, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. Now they're actually on TikTok.
Yes.
So what that does though is that changes your whole way of communication, because you know before we've had, you know, we used to do white papers or research, but you know people just want bullet points these days.
They want the short, I call them microwave kids.
Yes,
Yeah, give it to me in a minute, right? How fast can you make it happen?
they
right?
do. So it's, you know, it's how you communicate the messaging, but also the channels and the forms. We, you know, conversations like this, you can't not mention Black media and how they are no longer in existence like they used to be. Like you used to have your Essence magazine or your Ebony magazine that would come to your house every month, or, you know, your Jet, and you were so excited. And then they would have like, you know, those articles and informations. And so those,
And they'd be in the bathroom,
exactly.
right? Either on the
Yeah.
coffee table or in the bathroom, right?
Exactly. So it's like, because those outlets don't exist the way they used to, and there's like bloggers and there's influencers. The real question is, who can you trust, and who's credible out there? So that's, you know, there's a lot of challenges right now, even for us, as it relates to how we get our message out.
Yeah, I know. We learned, you know, the Breastie Club is not one you want to be in. We don't
Mhm.
recommend it. But once you're in it, we do have unconditional love and trust. And I
Mhm.
think that but it's also, we have to make sure that we're giving the right information, because we're
Exactly.
finding that we don't always know what the real deal is. And so part of our when we trial is to even
Mhm.
educate our breasties, you
Mhm.
know, to get them in, so they can pass the word on that's correct and
Mhm.
informative and the right thing. But I think
I think
that
something that I think about when you talk about not only health and the other aspects, financial aspects, starting a business is, you know, sometimes there's just a smaller group of folks who've had success, you know, but we always seem to broadcast the negativity. So it's
Mhm.
amazing when a woman's diagnosed and she may open up to friends and family, and you know, sometimes the first thing is, well, you know, Aunt so and so had breast cancer, you know, and
And
she
died.
died. Yeah, and it's like,
Or she
that's
took the
not
chemo and
helping.
died, and chemo killed her. Chemo killed
Yes,
her. Right?
yes. So it's
She
how
didn't
can
get
we
sick till
change
she went to
those?
the hospital. I love that one. She didn't get sick till she came to the hospital.
So it's kind of like change internal conversations and turn them positive. People can feel hopeful and say, oh, someone had triple negative breast cancer. Oh, great. They did great. So I'm going to go in there and give it my best shot so that I can do great and have a successful outcome and be a survivor.
You know, Christian, let me pull you in and ask you, how often do you see educational material in doctors' offices that look like you and us, you know?
Very rarely, very, very, very rarely. In fact, it's also for me. I lived in New York for 20 years, and I just recently moved to Houston, Texas. It's really been difficult for me to find, you know, doctors that I really, you know, trust and have the conversation with. So, you know, I've asked friends for referral, and then when it's a really good doctor, it takes forever. Like it's almost like you have to, you know, make an appointment like a year, you
Mm.
know, in advance. So it's really you know, it's really difficult to not only have the information that looks like me, but find health providers
That look like us.
that look
Mhm.
like us, and you know, understand that I'm a working woman, I have a husband, I have children, so I'm taking care of my elderly parents. It's just a lot.
And
that
you're
I'm
very
responsible
typical.
for.
You're very typical family. We are these, wear the purple cape, powerhouse, got the gold crown, taking care of everybody, 2 generations, right? And how do we do it all? But to find the resources we need is really hard. I'm blessed to have Dr. Hampton, but it is hard. And we get so many calls about, can you find me a Black oncologist in wherever? Can you find me a Black surgeon in Philadelphia? Can you find, you know what I mean? So a lot of even just referrals to Black doctors is what people ask us for, because we want to be, we have instant trust.
Yes.
Right. So,
And so my question for you all is, how do you feel about the health advocates? Because my father was recently diagnosed with a kidney disease. So he was assigned a health advocate. So they come, to the home like every other week, and they've, been kind of, providing like recommendations and stuff like that. And that was something interesting to me because I've never experienced a health advocate like that. Like she literally comes every 2 weeks to the house and, looks at his numbers and
is she
makes
Black?
it. No, she's not. She's not. So I just wanted to find out what's your feelings about that specific, profession and role.
Silence.
Dr.
mean, I
Hampton,
think
I will let you go first on this one.
I think it can be valuable, but I think it's just like with having good doctors, nurses. I think it has to be, the right person who's going to really be involved in really personalized care, really taking in what's going on with this patient and seeing what the need is for this patient, and not taking a blanket approach, because when you're going into people's homes, there can be a lot of different issues from home to home. So I think if it's the right person and they're really, making good recommendations that work for that patient and are realistic for that patient and that family, then I think it can be invaluable.
What was concerning for me and why I brought it up is that the information that she was providing was conflicted the information that the doctor was providing.
Well, that's
So
no
that's
good.
why I was like wondering, like, what is, the real role of the health advocate?
I think, Dr. Hampton is spot on in that it has to be reliable information, right? It can't just be, you downloaded the information off the, the WebMD and we're going to go through the checklist here. But the other thing is that it has to connect, cancer care especially is complicated, and you need a lot of different resources and providers. And it's not unlike kidney care, but people need resources that they can actually utilize. So having somebody who can come out and say, oh, we need to boost up your nutrition and your protein, without being able to connect that person to resources to do that, or to a nutritionist, or to a physical therapist, or those other connecting links, those connecting links, those missing links. I think that's where the real need is. But that person, if they're giving conflicting information, they got to know what the standard of care is, and then what is the prescriptive care from that doctor and that care team. And they should be, working within that guideline, because maybe there's a reason why it's different than what's on her checklist. It can't just be we're checking the boxes. It needs to be specific, and it needs to be specific to that doctor, that patient, that team, and that plan.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that health advocate really needs to be a part of the healthcare team, so that they understand, what the provider has recommended, and then they can come kind of behind the provider and support that, and really encourage that, see how to maybe get through some of the roadblocks. But it has to be a team-based approach.
Are you aware of that in oncology? Have you seen much of that being utilized? Dr. Hampton, Ricky, and Christian, I'm curious to know, do you see that model employed often? Because I don't much.
I've seen it just most recently with Nate's mom, and it's really not an advocate, but it's an advocate kind of like a roaming nurse. So she comes in every couple of days, checks her vitals. But it's not always the same person. In fact, it's never been the same person. She's probably had 4 visits. And it's more just like checking her vitals. She has heart disease and metastatic colon cancer. But I would not call her an advocate. I would call her like the CYA person that the doctor is sending out to make sure she's breathing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like it's
Yeah. And I know it wasn't designed for that. It was designed to help keep people out of the hospitals, right? Keep them out of urgent care, pick up stuff before it gets bad. Their CHF, and let the doctor know, their weight went up and their blood pressure went up before you end up in the ER on heart failure. But I don't think it has, I'm not sure that it's doing what all it needs to do. But how would you envision that from a cancer standpoint, from a breasty standpoint, Ricky? What would an advocate do for a patient? Like, how would that model look?
Well, that's what we do, Mo. We show up and go with them. How many doctor's appointments do I go on, right? And I usually get kicked out because I ask all the bad questions. Like, did this happen to Black people? Or are you just talking about your white patients? Dr. Hampton knows about that example. But no, I mean, that's what we try to do. We FaceTime all the time. We go, but we try to be there just to really be that other set of ears and hear what's happening so we can maybe go back and interpret it. Or I go and I come back and I call one of you guys to say, is this what should be going on? But I think it has to be someone who really cares about the patient, but also understands the disease. That we're so in the disease because we've experienced it as patients that I can ask different questions that a new patient can't ask because I've been here and done that and gotten the t-shirt, right? So I think advocacy is really all about, and maybe that's what you guys do. We have experts and I don't know that we're experts, but we are experienced patients that have lived through this thing called breast cancer, helping other breasties deal with it. And I think you guys are providing, you have people that have lived through an experience saying, how can we apply this to your situation and your life? And to me, that's different from just even a nurse who may have no clue about cancer. Because she's never had, you know what I mean? That she's just being her nurse doing her nursing job. Not that they're not compassionate or caring, but I think it's that breasty love thing that I can never really articulate. But it's there and it's real and it's just unconditional caring and love to help somebody go through this mess. I don't know. I mean, and I think that's what advocacy organizations are supposed to do, is to have people who've experienced something so they can speak to it from a point of knowledge and personal experience or personal,
and not feel intimidated. I think that's so key. I'm here planning an event, and I just had a tech meeting prior to this call, and I was, they shared with me the tech rider, and it had all of these XLR, and I'm like, this is not, I don't speak this language, but it's similar with something that impacts me. If a doctor is having a conversation with me and they're using maybe a lot of terms that I'm familiar with, you just really want to be comfortable to say, what does that mean? And not be embarrassed by that, because information is powerful. Or to, take notes. It's your life and your health. And I think we really have to be very, very intentional, and just all pride is gone. And you want to get as much information you can about your health and situation.
I love that. And I think, Ricky, you're right. I think about how to grow that. We have Valerie in the chat, and she's saying we may need to provide advocacy training for breasties. And I know some of the advocacy groups do that. And it's helpful because everybody gets the same knowledge about screening, about diagnosis, about standard of care and things like that from breasties. But I would even see, as an extension of work with Urban League, with the Links Incorporated and other organizations, training people who are family members and loved ones and advocates who don't have cancer, right? Like just sort of health literacy training.
Yes.
across the board, whether it's kidney
Financial
disease,
Financial-
whether
Right.
it is whether
All
it's
the things that
cancer,
we'll talk
whether
about.
it's prostate, whatever it is. But we may want to think about some programming around this so that people can get a little certificate and continue, do some training and some modules and say, I'm a health advocate for hypertension, for diabetes.
Yeah.
Good thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's more too like about exposure with anything. It's like we are very intelligent people just by everything, all of hurdles that we jump every single day. So our intelligence should never be in question. And there should just be a certain pride with that we're so resilient as people and we're still standing and we're still here and we're still thriving. So we should never be ashamed to just really ask the questions and really have to press our family members, because my personal story is that my grandmother died of breast cancer, but that's all I know. I just know that my grandmother died of breast cancer. I don't know what stage she was. I don't know like how long she was in the hospital. I know she went in the hospital and in a couple of weeks, like I'm no longer there. And that's when I was, maybe like 12 or 13 years old. And it's just so many conversations that we just don't have. And I think maybe I don't want to ask my mom what really happened. She may not know. I don't want to press her and make her feel uncomfortable or make her feel, sad. So, but we do have to find those spaces and say, Mom, I know this may be hard for you, but this information can save my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to force those conversations with your grandmas and your mamas and your aunties. It wasn't until sick that my mom remembered that her aunt died of breast cancer at 42, but she had never thought about it because they didn't talk about it. It's like, Mommy, that probably was triple negative, but at that age for her to be, to die that young. But even your grandmother, if you were only 12, your grandmother was young.
Yes.
Right. So what does that
she
say?
She was 60, like 61.
Wow. So we need to get some genetic testing and stuff, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I always say, especially this time of year, folks are starting to get back together and do their family reunions. What I encourage patients to do is somebody take some index cards, pass them around, and everybody write what who had what, and age, and somebody collect it and put together a document and just distribute that to the family so that people get that information. And then you can go enjoy, and have fun and the music, but at least you're doing something to get the health history. And not only cancer, but high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, who died at what age. I think those type of health histories are things that we really have to share within our families.
That's
love
such a
that, Doc.
great idea. I love that.
Because you said that get an index card and write down what because just because you may not have that family history, because I always say, write down your family history, but what do you know of the family and within the family? And I think that that's really powerful, because sometimes we know things and we don't think to bring it up because it's not us. And, that sharing of family information is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep saying health illiteracy breeds health inequity. It's happening because we just don't know. We don't talk about it. And we don't need to be dying of some of these cancers if we know what's going on in our families, So
does that mean that, going back to messaging, and I do have a communications background, is it that we need to repackage the messaging in a way where people are more engaged with the content that's being provided?
well, that's what we've done with When We Trial. We listened to 300 breasties talk about clinical trials, what they were afraid of. And we labored over every word they said in terms of how they described it. You're going to get the sugar pill and die. It's a last resort. I don't want to be a guinea pig. And we took all that stuff and basically tried to rewrite the language, but in ways that they would understand. And we think we're getting through to people, but I think we have to do that across the board with financial literacy. I mean, I have no financial literacy. I mean, I go to these websites and I just pray that you know, that my banker is going to help me do this, or my accountant's going to help, because I don't even know what to ask. Same thing in health. Like you asked me something with breast cancer, I'll call these guys. But from a financial perspective, I don't know what to ask. I've gotten a couple mortgages, but I don't know where to start. And how many people are like that for every category you talk to, right? Where are you? Right.
Yes.
To your question, Christian, I think that when we talk about rebranding and repackaging, you know, family health history and health literacy, it needs to be everybody's business. You know how Tabitha Brown, I love what she said, that's your business, but guess what? That's my business. That's everybody's business. You know what I mean? Like I could see that type of messaging where it goes from being that's your personal business and, you know, keeping it to yourself to really opening up that conversation. So yeah, I think that we're at a time where we would be receptive to changing that messaging from keep it all private, keep it to yourself, keep it in, to what's important for you to share and why. Because when we understand why it's important, we're more likely to share it. It's not just we want to get into your business and know what's going on, but it's like, no, this is going to save the life of your daughter, your granddaughter, your son, etc. It's similar to that when we trial messaging, do it for your daughters. But knowing that history and talking about these things is something our community, at least in my perspective and in my family, we never really did. It was like you talk about health, you talk about money. Those are the two things. God will provide and he will make a way, and that was it.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
But yeah, the financial thing is very similar in terms of, you know, keeping it a secret. And what do we say, Mo? The secrets we keep are killing us.
Killing us. And you know, Dr. Hampton, let me ask you about the financial burden of cancer and why it's important, you know, for us to talk about it even more, because I don't care how many vacations we all missed in 2020, 2021, nobody budgeted for breast cancer.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, the financial, you know, burdens in healthcare are great and getting greater. And so, you know, again, that literacy within that, like, what does it mean to have a copay? Why do I need to pay that? What does this mean? You know, I think people definitely need to be educated on that and understand it. And it is complex. Dealing with insurance is complex. Can we just get back to the days where I have an insurance card? I can walk into any office, any hospital, any doctor, and just get care. I think we need to go back to that.
And don't even get me started on Medicare. That's a whole nother, it's like.
Yeah.
And even mammograms. Some women are afraid of getting the 3D mammograms because of the copay. And so they're, you know, they don't know whether or not to ask for 2D versus 3D. And, you know, mammograms, you know, there could be a cost associated with those. So talk about the VAN a little bit too, and what is the District of Columbia doing, I think, for underinsured women, and how does that work for them too?
Yeah, so, well, the good thing is that we'll start out with those who are uninsured. So anyone who's uninsured in all 50 states, there's a program called the Breast and Cervical Cancer Program run by the CDC, where they will pay for mammograms and pap smears for women who are uninsured. And I think they even now include underinsured. So if you have like large deductibles, large copays, they will cover those as well.
Say that again, Dr. Hampton, say that again. That's so
cool. So the Breast and Cervical Cancer Program that's run through the CDC has a program in all 50 states that provide mammograms and pap smears for women who don't have insurance or are underinsured. They may have a plan, but it may be a high deductible plan or high co-insurance or co-payments, so that it makes it a little cost prohibitive. They will step in and help out. So at Breast Care for Washington, we provide mammograms for women, whether they have insurance or not. We do work with those programs in our area, because our goal is to remove those barriers and make sure that women get the care that they provide. So we do the mammograms, we do the follow-up, we ensure the woman gets a biopsy, and then if she's diagnosed, we directly navigate to one of the local breast centers and make sure that there are no missteps in her care and she gets where she needs to go. We have the mobile mammography unit, which will be on site this weekend.
Saturday, community day for anyone from DC can come.
Yes,
anyone from the area can come.
Yes.
Right. And I'm gonna put the link in the chat right now.
So we're excited about that, because the reality is not everybody can make it in to get a mammogram. So, you know, my thing is we take it to the streets and take the mammograms to the people. so that they can get the care that they need.
Very exciting. Thank you so much. We're so excited to have you all here because every time I plan an event, my goal is really to change a life or have major impact on someone else's life.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
So thank you, because I definitely know that this will be a great, great resource for a lot of the women attending this event.
Tell us about the conference a little bit. What are some of the topics and how many people are registered? And because I see you got a big exhibit hall, it's a lot going on
Yeah,
there.
it is a lot going on. So our theme this year is that the Urban League fights for you. Like, we are really on the front lines fighting for you as it relates to justice, voting rights, but across the board. So our conference opens up today. We have a welcome reception that's going to take place at the MLK Library. There was a rally earlier today. There's an attack on democracy, and we just have to really understand that all of these things are connected. They're just dependent on. So if you're unable to vote, then it's like, as it relates to, health in your community, education, all of that is determined by, our elected officials and our, even like there's so many health related positions policy wise is because of how people voted, and people are making decisions based on based on if you voted or if you didn't vote, if you weren't engaged at all. So definitely we want to be able to protect our rights. So tomorrow we open up with our plenary, which is kind of like the state of Urban League, which is also like the state of Black America, where we are right now. So what we would like to do is like look at the data, start with research, like these are the issues and what are some of the solutions. So we have forums on employment, on social justice, on health. We have a luncheon that I'm excited about. The Vice President Kamala Harris will be here on
Awesome.
Friday. We have
Awesome.
a financial panel by one of our leading partners like Experian. We have actually like a health pop-up. We have When We Trial here. So there's just so much information and resources. And of course, we have to have our galas and events where we're able to connect, because the connection is so important now more than ever. Because when you're able to connect with like-minded people, you're able to have those conversations that really can change someone's life. So this is definitely an event that we call all about solutions for urban America and communities. And we're so excited to present 3 days of informative panels, entertaining sessions, and just opportunities for us to engage with African American professionals from around the country.
That's good. So who actually comes to the conference? Members of the Urban League, like who
Right.
comes?
So we have the affiliates across the country. So the affiliate movement, which includes the leadership, their board members. We have our corporate partners, but so exciting, we have our young professionals that will be here. So it is really, and we have our youth that's here. They have a youth summit that's taking place at Georgetown. So there's events where they'll be here. So we are serving everyone from 13 to like 70 plus.
Wow. Wow.
Yes. So there's really very few events that's like this event. And it's, for me, it really is, it's a ministry. It's, it's an opportunity to really make sure that the proper content, the right partners are here that will have a positive impact on our attendees.
That's great. I love it. It's a ministry. That's what we call our work. It's a ministry, but just having access to people. So how many people are coming to the conference?
Yeah, so we are expecting close to 2,500.
Wow,
attendees. Yes.
wow.
And then it's a little bit, there are some unknowns there because this is our first time back. We've
Live,
been
yeah. You've
back
been
live,
virtual.
so we're learning some things and some things look different. So it's going to be very interesting. But we know that what we provide, there's not a lot of places or forums where you can have these conversations or have access to this type of information. So we know that we are providing something that the movement and professionals that they do need.
Cool. How many people do we expect to get from the DC community on Saturday?
So we've already had close to over 1,000 register because we're giving away backpacks for back to school. Also, we're giving away tennis shoes in addition to school supplies and backpacks. So we are
New tennis shoes?
new tennis shoes.
Wow.
Yes, new tennis shoes.
You hear that, people in DC? Come get a mammogram, come get a backpack for your kids, and come get some tennis shoes on
Yes,
Saturday. We'll
yes,
be
for your
here.
kids. Yes.
And we've got our cool goodie bags
Oh, very beautiful.
when we
And we
try
have
'em.
lots of goodies here. Lots
Yeah.
and lots of goodies.
Like there's all kinds of stuff. We have Fashion Fair, we have Walmart. Who's in the room with that?
We have
Experian.
Kaleidoscope nationwide. Yes.
So a lot of companies are here to show their stuff and engage with our people. And
yes, it's going to be
share
a
information.
wonderful weekend. So
That's incredible. I just put the link in the chat for
yes,
people to join. If you want to join the Urban League and join the digital community or join in person, because people might be watching from lots of places, but I guarantee you, it sounds like there's a chapter near you. There's an opportunity for you to get involved. Advocacy is more than just a thing that we put on our resumes and, our service activities that we check for our sororities and fraternities, but there's an opportunity to really, truly have an impact.
yeah,
yes, definitely.
definitely. So just in terms of what are you hearing from your constituency about health? Like, what do you feel like people need to know that we should be aware of to talk about with them?
What I'm hearing is just a lot of confusion because again, it's finding those trusted sources. And we are just hearing that there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace because we are in the information age where there's a lot of information, but it's really trying to filter what is accurate and credible versus what someone's opinion.
I
Yeah,
think
and
something that it's important for people to realize is that because of the digital age, the medical community, the medical knowledge changes quickly, which can make it confusing, but it's a good thing because we can do and gather more clinical information quickly and be able to change course in our clinical programs, in our pathways, and what we recommend. And I think that was evident by COVID. And I know people are like, well, 1 minute they said this, 1 minute they said that. But what people don't know is on the back end is that there was a lot of collaboration, gathering data, putting
Right.
data into these big databases. And that's why we were able to change and pivot quickly versus years ago, it would take years to get enough people in the trials to get to follow them for a long period of time. And so, I think people have to realize that medical knowledge changes. And even just for Dr. Mo and I, when you look at breast cancer, I tell patients, my breast cancer practice has changed just in 3 years.
3 years.
Wow. It's always moving, it's always changing. And so realize that we're not trying to confuse you. We're trying to present you with the most breaking news, with good sound data and good information. And hopefully the results are just better outcomes for patients and more survivors.
I love
Yeah.
that, Doc. Do you think that it's going to be possible to see those types of advances in clinical trials, especially for Black women? Because, like you said, things are moving at the speed of light here, but we continue to see us lag behind. My greatest fear is that there's a moonshot and there's some people who are left on Earth here, right? Like that moonshot needs to not take off without us. Do you think and hope, and Ricky, for you too, as a result of when we trial, that we could see something happen faster?
I think the work that Ricky is doing is great. And I think it's a matter of just letting people know that, there's a lot of information and data we've gathered on white women and white men. and a lot of treatments that we know work in those populations, but we don't quite know if those translate into us and what might be the differences. Do the doses need to be adjusted? Might it need to be doubled? And so I think that's why we have got to be a part of this, or you're right, we're going to be left here on Earth.
Yep. I think too, even the stuff that Christian talked about earlier about the stresses in our community, whether it's money or jobs or whatever, that affects our disease, right? I mean, a lot of our cancers and diabetes and everything are caused by stress for one thing, but also I think our disease is different because of a lot of the stresses that we're under. But just for when we trial, I mean, we are on this passionate mission to get more Black women in. We have 3% participation right now, but in the last like 2.5 months, we've signed up 1,181 Black women into clinical trial portals.
Wow, yay.
So every week, we get numbers every Friday. I can't wait to have numbers for tomorrow and this week, but I think we found a way to connect. And we try to update it. We're going to add more video this week. We have a great video of Ari, our little baby triple negative breastie that's 23.
Wow.
So we're going to add more content. We're going to produce some more videos next week, but we don't want people to have to go to Dr. Google and get intimidated.
Yes.
And I think that's similar to you.
Yes.
We want to give them a place on Dr. Google where they can find information that makes sense to them, that they can trust.
Yes.
And, it goes back to my 4 breasties, about breasties, by breasties, with breasties, all about, it's all about breasties. So we're trying to do that so people see people that look like us on the screen instead of reading just words on a screen. But, I also think that having these conferences is also a part of it, because we know a lot of us have this little contraption, right? But sometimes it's the computer for the family, and 3 kids have to do their homework on it, right? Or you may not have a tower near you, or you may not have the bandwidth to watch, 20 YouTube videos today. Right. So I think that having these conferences where we can talk to people and hold their hand and give them a hug and explain this stuff to them that's over all of our pay grades, right? Who knows about these things? Whether it's health, financial stuff, whatever. So I'm loving that we're here. We're going to keep going to conventions, keep doing these events and like find our people and talk to them and look them in the eye and say, okay, what's really going on with you? And have, real good one-on-one conversations. And we have Valerie Blackwell's here. She's on in the comments, but she's right next door at the hotel. She's going to be here for the next 3 days.
Yay.
And, she's our spiritual warrior.
Wonderful.
For our breasties. And so she's here, Haley's going to be here. We're going to be talking to people. So if you're in the DC area, please come out on Saturday and hang out with us and get a mammogram. But also have some conversations with all of the resources that you guys are providing. If you need a mortgage, you're trying to get a new job, all this stuff is here, right here.
Yeah, NUL.org, NUL, which is the acronym for National Urban League.org. Please also follow us on social media, which is Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and please stay connected. Stay connected to us.
I want to share something exciting for the breasties. So I know not everybody can make it here to the DC area to Cherry Blossom, but we're going to be launching our online platform called Maya, MYYA. So we'll be able to do fittings for women across the country and be able to provide them with prosthetics that look like them and their skin tone. So we're really excited to be able to make that accessible.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about Cherry Blossoms. So Cherry Blossoms is like this princess experience. You walk into this boutique and you automatically feel like a princess. Everything about it, and she's there to give you a perfect fitting. Nobody asks you what size bra you wear because they're going to fit you with a bra.
Yes.
And they have beautiful lingerie for everybody, like beautiful, sexy lingerie for everybody. But they specialize in lingerie for breasties.
I love it.
And so now with Maya, I put it in the comments, myya.com. You can get that same experience at home. So they basically send you the kits. You can measure yourself. They do a measuring exercise with you, right? On like a Zoom platform, right? And then they send you bras.
I love it. How cool is that?
So So we're trying to make everything available to everybody. So,
Yes.
so.
That's
we're-
incredible. I'm still planning my bus trip. I'm gonna bring all the Philly breasties down there and we're just gonna spend a day. It's gonna happen. If it doesn't happen in the fall, it's going down in the spring because I am so, so excited because it truly is an experience, especially for women who aren't feeling the most confident about things after all the stuff that we do. And we try to hide the scars. And Dr. Virginia, we put a lot of lipstick on a pig, but it's
Yeah.
still something happened here that happened to your body and it doesn't ever quite feel the same, but we can help these women to feel whole and feel seen and feel good in their bodies. And the patients that I have sent down there, that's what they come back and tell me.
Wonderful.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
amazing and wonderful.
Yeah, I don't know. I may go to the store and bring some samples to our booth. Or I
that
could,
would be amazing.
actually, I could just sort of go in my closet or my drawer. I never wore lingerie or bras until cherry blossoms. And now I have the stuff that's like magnificently beautiful.
Oh, wow,
So
definitely.
I could maybe bring some samples to show up. what we
That would
got
be
here.
great.
Yeah.
That would be really great.
I'll put them under my little When We Trial t-shirt. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
this is
So
amazing.
much. I know. Mwah.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
this is
yeah.
amazing. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure meeting you both and just speaking with y'all. This has been a great and informative conversation.
Yeah. So we have.
It's
Thank
been
you.
wonderful to have you and to learn more about what the National Urban League does and how to get involved in that. Advocacy and action is alive and well in this country in every single state, and that you guys are continuing this great work for more than 100 years. Because when we trial has got to go viral, it has got to become a movement among, yes, the breasties, but among everybody else in our community and make the health literacy a reality. So thank you for letting us crash your party too. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I always love to come and crash every now and then and be a part.
We love having you. Thank you for the work you're doing and for the van. I want to see pictures and tell everybody where it is again and where they can come get their mammogram. If you watching and you know a family member, loved one, you yourself, somebody from your church who hasn't gotten a mammogram, who needs a mammogram, where are they going again?
We're at the DC Convention Center, the Walter Washington Convention
Yes.
Center, right in the middle of DC. Google it. We're here. Google NUL.org.
Yeah,
and you'll find it.
and you'll see
Yeah.
our information regarding our annual conference.
Yeah, and we're in room 146 is where the
Yes.
conference. Actually Saturday we're going to be.
We're gonna
downstairs.
be downstairs in the convention center, but these 2 days will be in room 146.
Yeah, but we'll
Yes.
be down there with the mammo machine. The truck is going to take up the whole room. We can't wait to make a presence and help people. And even if you can't get on the list for Saturday, we'll direct you to where you can go and make you healthy, keep you healthy, and talk about clinical trials.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. Wow. Well, thank you. We hope it's been relatable and reliable and real. That's what we set out to do every Wednesday night here on Black Doctor, right, Ricky? All righty. Well, I think their Wi-Fi froze a little bit, but Dr. Regina, you and I, we're going to say it. The doctor is in.
The doctor is in.
Breasty love to all the breasties who are watching, and we just appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next Wednesday night.
Sounds good.